Hello, students. So we will study the next topic in this session today. So we will study exceptions in Python. So first try to understand what is syntax error in Python. So a syntax error occurs when the error is caused by the wrong syntax in the code. So due to the error, the program terminates. So exceptions, they are different from the syntax error. Syntax error or the errors terminates the program. So to avoid program termination, there is a mechanism known as exception handling. So exceptions are raised when the program is syntactically correct, but the code results in an error. This error does not stop the execution of the program. However, it changes the normal flow of the program. So using the exception handling mechanism, the program will not terminate abruptly, but it will help you to change the control of the flow of the program. So note, exception is the base class for all the exceptions in Python. To know more about it, you can check the hierarchy here. So basically, all of you know these types of error. Okay, these are the very simple type of. Hello, student. So see here, to handle exceptions in Python, you can use try and except clause. So this is the syntax how you should write the code. In the try block, you have to write the code which can cause give the exceptions or the errors. Except block will contain the code which will handle exceptions. Remember, except clause, a try block can contain multiple except blocks. If you know the type of error, you can write it. Otherwise, if you don't know, just write the keyword except. A single try can have multiple except blocks. Uh, Else block will contain the code which should be executed if the error does not occur in this part of code. And finally, block will always execute irrespective whether the exception occurs or not. We are going to see hands-on exercises and you will understand it better. So quickly go and we will quickly proceed ahead and see this with practical examples. Let's begin understanding how exception works in Python using some practical examples. First, take example of what is the syntax error. So C part of this code here, a variable marks is declared which has assigned value 19, and I have written this if block. In this if block there are basically two errors. First, this colon is missing, and the other thing is that the indentation is not correct. If I try to execute this block, it will result in error. So this is the syntax error. Now again, let's take this example. Here in this part of code, again the variable marks has assigned value 700, and this line will try to divide marks with zero division. This will result in error. So this is zero division error. So this type of errors can occur many times. This is syntax error and here the syntax is correct, but this is still a error. To handle such errors, there is a mechanism known as exception handling. So using exception handling, you can execute the part, you can execute the code without terminating it. So we have studied try and except blocks helps to do this. So the syntax is use try block. There in the try block, try to write a code which might cause an error, and the except block will handle the errors. So this is the example of a simple try and except block. So here in this example, two variables I have declared. Variable x has value 7, variable y has assigned value week, which is string variable. In the try block, that I have written a code which will perform the addition. Now, this addition operator for the case of numbers, it will perform the addition. But the thing is, it needs both operands to be of same data type. So here one operand is integer and another is string. So this code will not execute. It will raise an error, but that error will be handled by the except block, and Instead of terminating program, the user will see this print message. So if I execute this, see, now there is not error message. Instead, the program has told there is an error and cannot add integer and string. So this is the way using which you can write errors in Python. So how to catch different type of exceptions? So see, uh, now see this part of code. Here a list is declared which contains three numbers. In the try block, we are printing value of second element and fourth element. This list has only three elements starting from index 0 to 2. The second element will be printed by the first statement, and the fourth statement will try to access the fourth element. Since the list has only three elements, this will give error and which is handled by the except block. So if I execute this code, now see, the program execution did not terminate it like here. Instead, after the second element, it's it's 2, but when the execution terminated abruptly here, the flow went to this except clause, and there just the program printed a message that error is occurred. So this is the way to handle exceptions using try and except blocks. Now remember, in the try block, you have to write the statements which might cause an errors, and a single try block can have multiple except blocks which will handle different type of errors. Like in this example, let's say you have written a piece of code in a try block which might cause 4 to 5 different type of errors, and if you have written except clause listing only 2 to 3 such errors, then by default, if a fourth error occurs which is not listed here, the program termination the program will terminate abruptly. So remember this, and remember, if you don't specify any type of error, like in this case, then by default the print message will be printed or the code which you write there will get executed. So now there is another clause, else clause, you can add with the try and except clause. So the try block, try to write a part of code which might cause an error. Except block will handle those error, and if the error doesn't occur inside a code in try block, the code after the else, after that you have to write it in the else block. So here in this case, let's see, try, except and else. So else will come after except. The code which might cause an error, you have to write it in the try block, and the code which you want to execute without any, if there is not any error, that you have to write in the else block. So if I have written one function here, a by b, this function will try to find out value of c by performing this operation. So this function I am going to call with these two different parameters. So first I will pass these values, and second time when you have to call a function, pass these two values. So when you call function with these values, see, it will perform the addition and division. But second time, there are a chances that as both numbers are same, this is going to give error. So if I execute this code, now see what will be the output. So see, uh, function is called twice. For the first parameters, it has written the value of c by performing this calculation. When I called function for the second time, there was an error because both values are same. So the error exception occur, which is handled by this clause, and it has printed the statement print. So this is the way you have to use else clause. In the first For the first time, the code does not have any error, so it skipped this except clause and it printed the value of c. But the second time there was error, so the program executed except block, and then the program terminated or the code terminated. So this is the use of try, except and else. And now the finally clause, it will get executed when a error occurs or not. So irrespective of the error in the program, finally block always executes. So let's take example here. Like in this try block, I have written a simple statement where variable k will get the value if we perform some division operation. In this case, there will be error because if you try to divide by 0, it will give 0 division error. Then when error will occur, the control will go to except clause, and this message will get printed, and else block will skip the execution, but finally block will get executed. So let's try to understand this by running the code. So see, I executed the code, and you might have seen, because there was error in the try block, the control went to the except clause. In the except clause will print the message can't divide by 0. Else clause will not get executed, but the finally will always execute whether the error occurs or not. So this is the statement which you will receive. So I will modify it, and if I try to execute it again, so now here this code will not give any error. So the control V will go to else clause, and I will uh, write some, try to print something, value of k, and then if I execute it with this, then you will see the code inside the try block got executed, but there was not any error occurred. So the control went to the else clause. This message was printed and finally again executed. So remember, this is how you have to use try, except, else and finally blocks in your program. Try block will contain the code which in which there are the chances where the exceptions might occur. Except block will handle those exceptions. If you don't know which type of exceptions can occur, you can not write this, just write the except and the colon, and write the code which should get executed. Else block will contain part of the code which should be executed after this code, and finally block will always executed. So I hope every one of you understood how this works. I will stop here. So I want to tell you some important instructions regarding how you should write write-ups. So for problem assignment number 3, what you is expected is you have to write a problem statement. The theory part, aim and objective you have to write. Theory part you can write it in brief. Algorithm and pseudocode you have to write for the problem statement in brief. So like here, these are the exercises which are given to you for the third assignment. You have to write them. Okay, all the code, input and output for all the exercises you have to write by your hand in the write up. Printouts, screenshots are not allowed. And then in this format you have to write for all three problem statements. Then FAQs you have to write it them. FAQs you cannot write it in brief, and this applies for all the assignments. So this was for assignment 3, and let me tell you the same thing expected from you for assignment 4. So for assignment 4, you have to write this 3. Theory you can write it in brief, but algorithm and pseudocode for these problem statements, okay, you have to write algorithm, pseudocode, input and output. Then FAQs also you have to write, and then the assignment is complete. The write-ups, sorry, printouts, screenshots, they are again not allowed, and same applies for all the assignments going forward to 10 or 11, whichever you have. So for assignment 5 also, in this place, see, you have to perform this many, you have to write a code on machine for this many, and then you have to execute it. The same you can copy it in your write up for all assignments, but this you have to write by your hand in the write up. Remember this is very important. So FAQs also, you have to write complete description about the complete answers for the FAQs, and this you have to follow for all the assignments. So remember this. If you have any questions, write it in the comment box. And if you like the video, please press the like button and subscribe so that you will get notifications when I will post the new when I will post the new topics on this channel. Thank you.